All right, so let's get started. Just have a block or so, and we're going to start lying on the block with the block under the sacrum. So, coming down onto the floor. I have a feeling that we've been doing this a lot, but it's always a good thing. All right, so just taking a few moments here on the floor, and there's always, of course, the option to do it just lying straight, long, and flat on the floor without the block. And then as you're ready, lifting up, block under the sacrum to slide those legs out. And giving a push here with the hands, lengthening out that lower back. So you can start out a little bit more easeful, maybe with the legs a little wider. When the legs are wider, it changes the stretch, puts it less right down through the center of the hip flexor, goes a little more to some of those muscles on the inner thigh and inner thigh. Anyway, here we are, getting ourselves settled, arriving here. Inhaling and exhaling, letting go of the rest of the day. Feel yourself dropping into your body, into your breath. And maybe the rest of the day is lingering there on the periphery, making occasional forays into the center of your attention. But we just keep bringing our focus back to our body and to our breath. And then let's get a little more organized if you're not already. Flexing the feet, legs hip distance apart or right together, standing on the opposite wall. So steadiness is not necessarily having an unbroken focus and an unwavering attention. More often, really, in our lives, it's a matter of being able to come back. We're focused, we get distracted, but then coming back. And now we're cooperating a little more with the block, reaching through the heels, reaching long through the top of the head. Lift of the upper chest toward the chin. Press the outer arms down, pressing down actually through the whole back of the arm, but feeling mostly that outer side, or a little bit more of the outer side, from the little finger to the outer shoulder. And one more deep breath here. And then bending knees and lifting up off that block, and we will roll down vertebrae by vertebrae, landing on the floor. And then we'll lift up in the bridge pose. Pressing the feet into the floor, scooping that tailbone up. Going to the bridge pose that is enough for this moment. And then maybe in a breath or two, there's a different bridge pose. And we'll take 5 or 6 deep breaths here. And then rolling yourself slowly down, taking a moment, melting into the floor. And then we will make our way up to sitting. If you want to take couple little rolls, you can do that. Or doing a sit up, or a roll to the side. And we'll be coming to Sukhasana, the crossed legs. All right. And sitting in Sukhasana. Giving a little lift from those arms, finding the long and spacious spine. And gently release, letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhale and exhale. Maybe there's a little bit more lift from that lower waist. And let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing the arms up, taking up lots of space. And breathing the arms down twice more. And then let's take a twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space, exhaling into the twist. Coming back to the center, twisting to the other side. Inhale and exhale, twisting to the left, the other side. And coming back to the center. And remembering which leg is in front. And we're going to bring those legs out about a right angle, feet hip distance apart. And let's take a little interlock of the fingers behind, leaning back on the hands. So we all have different length arms. So find a good spot for you. Leaning back, maybe vertical is good for you. Squeezing the upper arms together, maybe a little lift of the upper chest. And then let's come up in the tabletop. Fingertips can be forward, diagonal to the side. To the side is generally the easiest on the wrist joints and shoulders. So I'm going to kind of do a small diagonal myself for those who just want to do whatever I do and not think about it. And pressing into the feet, scoop the tailbone up, and then feeling like those interlocked fingers there in the arm, lengthen up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. So coming down when you need to here. All right, so here we are up here, and feeling like you're dragging the feet back and dragging the fingertips forward. Tuck that tailbone up a little more. Press the feet down. And then coming down. Oh, thank goodness. Let's change the cross of our legs from what it was before. And we will come forward and over. Breathing into the back of the body. And a few more breaths here. Coming up, unfurling the spine. Let's extend our legs straight out in front. Coming up to the top of the mat because we're going to go back down to the floor, making sure your block is nearby as we come forward. Flattening the backs of the legs along the floor. As much forward as your body needs at this moment. Maybe using the hands from behind to press and lengthen forward. And then we will roll ourselves down to the floor. You can use the arms alongside to assist. Coming down vertebrae by vertebrae, and then there we are. Landing back on the floor. And let's get our block. So this time we're going to use our block to come up in the bridge pose, but we're going to keep our legs bent. So you might find a higher height of the block will work all right. You could also make a stack of blocks, and then this is fine. You don't necessarily need to have like the full bridge pose feeling because we are going to lift up off the block. Remember too, the height of the block is not based on how good a person you are. It's based on your body, your flexibility, and perhaps even more importantly, just your proportions, your height, the length of femur bones, and lengths of spines and all. All right, so here we are somewhere. If you can get the hands around to interlock the fingers around the block, you can do that, or just press the arms down. And take a moment being there on the block, but feeling that cooperating with the block. Reaching long and forward through the knees, pulling back toward the head with the abdominal muscles. And then we're going to take that right leg up into the figure four, crossing the ankle over, pressing the outer right knee down. And then with that block on the sacrum, you can press the right knee. You can feel if you start to twist, the sacrum gets a little crooked on the block. Keep that sacrum level as you press down with the outer knee. And then you could stay here, or we're going to press that left foot into the floor, scoop the tailbone up a little more, and lift up off the block. Still trying to keep that pelvis level. At the same time, doing a little press down from that outer right knee. And breathing. And then coming back onto the block, and we'll set the right foot down. All right, get yourself recentered as needed, and then with that sacrum on the block, crossing the left leg over. And we will press down with the outer left knee and maybe let your pelvis twist a little. Sometimes that's a good way to really feel that. Let it twist a little there down into the left, and then pull that sacrum level on the block. So it usually means working the right side of the abdominal muscles a little more. So it's kind of a strange thing to think of working one side, right or left of your abdominal muscles in general, but it can be done actually. All right, so let's take a few breaths there, anchored on that on the block, feeling very level. At the same time, a little work in that left outer knee, pressing down. And then pressing the right foot into the floor, lifting up off the block. Or staying on the block. And then breathing. Or you can always come back down onto the block if things get a little shaky. Then you get one or two more nice deep breaths. And then coming back onto the block, uncross your left leg. Take a few moments letting things level out. Let's slide the legs out to straight for 3 or 4 breaths again. And then bending the knees, lifting up off that block, rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae, landing on the floor. Sliding the legs out straight. We're going to make our way back up to sitting, back up to the forward bend where we came from, bringing the arms up overhead. And then rolling up or using whatever assistance or means necessary. You know how that contracting to the back is a nice release for the lower back as we pour slowly out over the legs. And come up, and then let's bring those legs in, and we'll come into the standing forward bend. So we are probably somewhere near the front of our mat. Coming up onto the feet, you can take a few moments here if you want, tipping back and forth. But come up as high as you need to for your knee joints. And then as you're ready, expanding up, pressing the heels down, pulling the sitting bones up. Taking a few breaths here. You want to walk the dog or anything else here. Bend one knee and then the other. You bend both knees. Or you can also have the hands on the block since we have those there. All right, let's take one more deep breath in our forward bend. And then concave back halfway up. And folding over, and then we will come all the way up to standing. Big front body yawn. Feeling that block under the sacrum, stretch a little more. And pressing those arms down long through the top of the head. Breathing here to Dasana. Adjusting any hair or clothing as needed. All right, and then let's have a big inhale up back to that front body yawn and diving over. Concave back halfway up, folding over. Let's step back with the right leg into the long low lunge. So we have our left leg in front. Just really lengthen that out long through the top of the head. We're just going to touch the right knee down. Press the tailbone down, touch the right knee down. Take a breath. Straighten that right leg up. Stepping back to the plank. And holding that plank long and flat against the ceiling. You can always use the kneeling plank. Let's hold somewhere between 6 and 8 breaths. So try not to hold in endurance mode. Every breath can be a little action there. Inhale a little forward through the top of the head. Exhale a little back through the shoulder blades out the heels. Inhale a little lightening. Exhale a little strength. This is probably long enough. Let's bring the knees down, coming back to child's pose. Just 1 or 2 breaths here. And then expanding up to downward facing dog. Ah. And looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back. Folding over. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And then pressing those arms down, lengthening through the top of the head to Dasana. Taking a breath. And we'll come back over and we'll do that leading with the left leg. Big lift up and diving over. Concave back, folding over, stepping back with the left leg. So now we have the right lunge, or all we need is the other lunge. Take a moment, long line from the top of the head out the left heel. And then bringing that left knee down just for a breath or 2, pressing into the front of the left hip a little more. Straightening up that left leg, stepping back to the plank. And let's hold this plank again, long and flat against the ceiling, 6 to 8 breaths. Inhale and exhale. So you can think, inhale a little forward, exhale, shoulder blades back and out the heels. You can think, inhale like you're going to pull the hands wide, or you could even pull those legs wide. Exhale, drawing into the center. So many interesting things to do while we're holding here. Maybe we should say stay 16 breaths, maybe, or not. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then coming to child's pose for a moment. And expanding up to downward facing dog. So if you need some dog walking, you could do a couple of those. All right, and then continuing this time, let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Reach a little bit longer and through to the lunge. And we'll bring that left knee all the way down this time, coming up in Jayasana. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And let's bring those arms around and we'll eagle pose. Right arm under. Feeling a little lift up, a little press forward. And then releasing the arms. Let's turn to the elephant rider, pressing out those inner thighs, doing a figure four on both legs. So try to actively press the outer knee and outer thigh away, even though we're pressing with the arms from the inside to help. And then coming up in the three-pointed star, pressing up, big reach through the fingertips. And we're going to pull into the temple pose, bending the knees, pressing those outer knees and outer thighs away, feeling that wide, level pelvis across the back. And then tipping forward, turning the feet to parallel as you straighten the legs, Prasarita Padottanasana. Taking a few breaths here, putting your arms somewhere very deliberate. They can be just in front or under the shoulders. If you want, you could reach out for the ankles or reach behind yourself, trying to turn yourself inside out. And then we will turn back to the right lunge. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa and eversion and downward facing dog. And then we will go around on the left. Lifting the left leg up. Through to the lunge. And let's bring the right knee down, coming up in Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then eagle pose, arms, left arm under. I'm feeling a little lift up, press forward, breathing. And release the arms. And coming around to the elephant rider, pressing those knees out. Pressing out with the muscles as well as the arms. Straightening up into the three-pointed star. Lift a little more and then into the temple pose, pressing those outer knees away, long through the top of the head. And then this time we will straighten up, turn the feet to parallel, bringing the arms out to parallel. So let's do the warrior two. So remember, I am not the mirror at the moment, but we're doing one side and the other, so it'll all work out. Let's rotate our right leg out 90 degrees. That's probably the leg to the back of your mat. And coming into the warrior two. So I always talk about the inner thigh to the inner knee to the center of the foot. But another part of that is feeling that outer right knee pressing back. You can put your hand there like I'm doing. Press that outer right knee against that right hand for a moment. While the left side pulls away to the left as best it can. And then taking a few breaths here in the warrior two. And let's dancing warrior. Side bending away to the left. Let's straighten the right leg, still side bending. Pulling up the whole right side. Rotating that right thigh bone into the hip joint. And then level the arms, parallel the feet. Take a breath. We'll do that same thing on the left. Rotating the left leg out 90 degrees. As we go into the warrior two, there's our usual inner thigh to inner knee to center, or inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot. There we go. And then there's also a press back with the outer knee and the outer thigh. You can put your left hand there for a moment, pressing into that. Of course, we don't want to roll and detach our foot from the floor that far. And then we don't want to pull that right hip too far forward. The right hip resists as much as it can while keeping that knee tracking over the foot. And then let's extend that left arm forward. And breathing here in the warrior two, feeling that press, feeling that pull and pull between the hips. Dancing warrior, bringing the left arm up. And then letting that left leg straighten, keeping that side bend, pulling up and over to the left, rotating the left thigh bone into the hip joint. And level the arms, parallel the feet. Let's interlock the fingers behind. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming over, pressing out through the hands, hinging yourself over. And release the hands. Taking a few more breaths here in the wide leg forward bend. And let's turn back to the left lunge, the front of the mat. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa. So we don't have a lot of through the vinyasa today. You can always go 2 or 3 more times. And downward facing dog. And looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave, back halfway up, folding over. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing those arms down, long through the top of the head. Let's come all the way around to Namaste. And we'll Utkatasana. So let's see, let's take our big ripple into Utkatasana. So we go into the front body yawn, and then bend the knees, let your butt stick out. Reach the arms around as you bend a little deeper, as the hands come forward, arms come forward, the tailbone does a little tuck under, and then we lengthen and flatten out into those straighter lines. Let's do that once more. Springing back up to the front body yawn, and bend and arch, and scoop and lengthen. And releasing over, we'll make our way to the floor. So let's come to the plank, concave back, folding over, jumping, stepping back. You can go to the dog first, and then we'll all meet up in the plank. So here we are in the plank, and let's knees, chest, chin ourselves to the floor, bringing those knees down on all fours. And here we are, kind of like what we just did, arching the back, folding more into the hip joint, pulling forward and down. And then sliding out into the small cobra, squeezing the elbows in and back, reaching through the toes, and lengthening down. Let's come up in that small cobra again. Feeling that pull back, that lengthen forward, working the back muscles, not too much from the arms, but a little, and coming down. And next time as we come up, we're going to lift the right leg. Small cobra up, right leg lifts, and then stay lifted and bend that right knee. Try to lift the knee a little higher, lift the upper back a little higher, and lengthen out and coming down. And then on the left, lifting up straight left leg. Reaching through the left toes, bending the left leg. Lift a little more, things like to come down when you bend. And then lengthening down. So yeah, just as you were feared, we'll try to do both legs. All right, lengthening up both legs. So you might not be lifted very high off the floor at all. And then bending both knees. Squeeze the elbows in and back. Think of lifting a little more, even though nothing might move much. And coming down. And let's peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog. Maybe a couple cats and cows along the way. And then taking a few breaths here in that downward facing dog, lengthening out your lower back. And looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Taking a breath or two here in the forward bend. Maybe give the head a little shake and a little nod. Utkatasana, the chair pose. And then pressing the feet into the floor, springing up into the front body, yawn, and all the way around to Namaste in front. Pulling those abdominal muscles in and back. All right, so let's standing figure four. So this time we'll go directly to the chair pose Utkatasana without the ripples. Just reach down and forward, hinge down and back, Utkatasana. Holding on in the lower abdomen in that crease of the hip joint. You can keep the arms here or bring the hands to namaste as we take that right leg up in the figure four. And feeling the press down with that outer right knee, but trying to feel like you're not tilting your pelvis. And then setting that right foot down, pouring into the forward bend. Deep breath. Let's come back to the Utkatasana, and then we'll do the left side. So it's generally easier to balance with the hands in namaste, I think, just so you know. But let's bring our left leg up. And try to actively press that left outer knee down and still hold the pelvis level rather than just letting your left leg rest there. And left foot down, pouring into the forward bend. And this time we'll continue back to downward facing dog through the vinyasa. Let's lift our right leg up, long through the heel. Through to the lunge, and let's come up in the warrior one, or you could choose the high lunge, but the warrior one will be the default here today. Scooping that tailbone down and forward, coming up and over. Big circle of breath. And sometimes we actually need a little press out of that outer right knee here. Even though we want the knee tracking over the foot and we have the inner thigh going there. Sometimes in the front to back lunge, our knee likes to fall against the center line. All right, we've been here long enough. Let's come down. We're going to Matsyendrasana, walking the right foot a little to the left, bringing that left knee under, or getting here by any means. Matsyendrasana with the right leg on top. Standing on the sitting bones along through the top of the head. Let's twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space, exhale and twist. Coming back to the center. And then we're going to keep our right leg kind of where it is as we take our left leg up. And so we're in that sitting figure four. And take a little lean back on the hands. So yes, we're going up to the tabletop in case you're wondering in a moment. And first, just do a little press up and forward. Or you can hold on through the leg if that works better. Deep breath. And then bringing the arms behind. Once again, straight forward, a little bit of a diagonal, maybe out to the side. All right, that left foot presses hard into the floor as you scoop the tailbone up, lifting up. And then see if you can press that outer right knee down without twisting the pelvis. And breathing deeply and easily at the same time, working those arms like we have the interlocked fingers behind. Calming down. And let's reach forward again. Reaching through the triangle, holding on around the left shin or behind the knee. Or you could come down into the cross-leg Sukhasana or whatever else you feel like you would like. And then we'll put our right foot down next to the left, coming up into the forward bend. And we'll take a few breaths there and then make our way back to downward facing dog. As you're ready, a little concave back, folding over, vinyasa, downward facing dog. Or maybe not vinyasa. And let's lift the left leg. Warrior one or the high lunge. And like we're doing that little bridge pose in the pelvis. Nice big circle of breath. And maybe see what your left knee is up to. Did it fall in past the big toe toward the center a little too much? Maybe you need a little press out from that outer left knee and thigh to keep that leg very parallel. So sometimes we do an action without a movement. So I'm not actually literally trying to press my left thigh to the side, but I'm using that feeling to keep it very parallel. And then let's come down. Walking that left foot over to the right, bringing the right leg under, not staying Drasana. Sitting bones into the floor, long through the top of the head. Let's twist to the left. Inhale, lots of space, exhale and twist. And then coming back to the center. And coming up into the figure four with the left leg crossed over. We'll just take a few moments getting here. Pushing forward and up. We can reach through the triangle, giving those wrists a little break for a moment. And then bringing the hands back, fingertips forward, diagonal, out to the side. All right, pressing that right foot into the floor. Try to make that right leg, the back of the right thigh, and medius maximus do as much of the work here as you can. Pressing the right foot into the floor, scoop that tailbone up. And then we're thinking of pressing that left knee down without twisting the pelvis. And drawing up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin, squeezing those upper arms together like you have the interlocked fingers. Remember, you come down when you need to. And then come down. Reaching back through that triangle around the shin, maybe behind the thigh, if that works better. You might notice as you pull there, makes a good decompress of the wrist joints. And then uncross those legs, sliding them out to straight. Let's come over in the forward bend here. And rolling down to the floor. Oh, here we are, landed on the floor, thank goodness. Oh. And let's see, I just blanked out what we were doing. Oh, okay, bending the knees. Of course, you could do anything your body feels like it needs. Making those feet wide at the outer edges of the mat as we bring the arms out to the side, and let's drop the knees over to the left. So we have the knees really wide like this, so my right leg is not touching my left. The knee is missing the foot. We have a little less twist in the spine itself and a little more inner rotation on the right leg there. It's a little bit different stretch along the right outer hip, and then we keep our legs closer together. And if your knee joints are feeling okay here, maybe a little actively press that right inner knee and thigh toward the floor. Let everything soften for a moment. And then we'll roll back through the center, over to the right. It's a little different than having the legs together. Maybe a little active pressing down with that left inner knee. And coming back to the center. And then sliding those legs out and into Shavasana. So you can have the arms in the traditional position alongside, maybe hands on the belly, maybe a little over. Inhaling and exhaling, melting into the floor. And breathing yourself back into your body. You can stay longer if you have the time. Moving the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms overhead if you didn't already. You already said that. Let's bend your knees and we'll gently make our way up to sitting. Sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.